In the sleepy village of St. Mary Mead, a brutal murder rocks the comrich newcomer Mr. Ashford, bludgeoned by a candlestick. Greed, anger, and secret swirl. A scorned wife, a fired gardener, a cheated shopkeeper, and a sly nephew after. A hidden will. Clues pile up muddy footprints, a strange book, a buried candlestick, a night shadow. Can clever Miss Marple unravel the web, trap the killer, and bring peace back in time? Chapter 1. The quiet of St. Mary Mead. The little village of St. Mary Mead woke up to a bright sunny morning. Birds chirped in the old oak trees, their songs dancing on the gentle breeze. Cottages with neat thatched roofs lined the narrow lanes, their gardens bursting with roses, daisies, and cheery marigolds. Smoke curled from chimneys as folks lit their fires for breakfast. It was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone, and life moved slow and steady like a lazy stream winding. Through the green hills, Miss Jane Marple lived in a cozy white cottage near the heart of the village. She was a small, thin lady with snowy white hair tied in a neat bun and eyes that sparkled with a quiet, clever light. Her hands, busy with knitting needles and soft wool, moved fast as she sat by her window. She loved watching the world go. By Mrs. Price hanging laundry, young Timmy racing his bicycle, the postman tipping his hat, to most, she was just a sweet old spinster, fond of tea and gossip. But Miss Marple saw more little habits, tiny lies, the way people's faces changed. When they thought no one looked, people are the same everywhere, she often thought, sipping her morning tea. A chipped cup sat on her lace tablecloth, steam rising from the hot drink. She'd seen it all in St. Mary amid jealous wives, sneaky boys, grumpy old men. Years of watching taught her how hearts worked, how secrets hid behind smiles. Down the lane, the village buzzed gently. At the bakery, Mr. Brown kneaded dough, his big hands dusted with flour. "Morning, Miss Marple," he called as she passed by, her straw hat bobbing. She waved back, her smile warm. Next door, the post office hummed. Mrs. Penny with her round. Cheeks and quick tongues sorted letters and shared news. "Did you hear, Miss Marple? A new man's come to the big house?" she said, eyes wide. The big house was Ashford Manor, a grand place of red brick and tall windows, sitting on the edge of St. Mary Mead. For years it stood empty, ivy creeping up its walls like green fingers. Now Mr. Reginald Ashford had moved in, a rich man with a loud voice and a shiny car. He wore fancy suits, his dark hair slicked back, and carried a gold-tipped cane. Some said he'd made money in the city, buying and selling land. Others whispered he was rude, bossing folks around like he owned the village. Miss Marple nodded to Mrs. Penny. "A new face is always interesting," she said softly, her mind already turning. She strolled on, passing the church with its old stone tower. The vicar, Mr. Leonard Clement, a kind man with a bald head and worried eyes, was sweeping the path. "Good day, Miss Marple," called. His young wife Griselda popped out, her red curls bouncing. "We're having tea later, come join us," she said, her laugh bright. Miss Marple smiled and promised she would, but not everyone liked Mr. Ashford. At the edge of the village, Tom the gardener leaned on his spade, his face red and cross. He'd worked at the manor for years, tending the lawns and flower beds. Mr. Ashford had fired him, saying he wanted fancy city plants instead of Tom's roses. "He's a mean one, that Ashford," Tom grumbled to young Billy, the butcher's boy, who nodded, kicking a stone. Miss Marple, walking nearby, heard the anger in Tom's voice, saw the clench of his fist. Hurt feelings can grow deep, she thought, tucking it away. Across the street, Clarabelle ran the tiny shop, selling sugar, tea, and bolts of cloth. She was a sharp woman, with dark eyes and a quick step, was always busy. Mr. Ashford owed her money, lots of it, for goods he'd bought on credit. He says he'll pay next month. Clara told Mrs. Price over the counter, her voice tight. "I've got bills, too." Mrs. Price, hanging her washing, clucked her tongue. Miss Marple, pausing to admire a daisy, caught every word. "Money troubles stir up bad blood," she mused, her needles clicking in her bag. Back at home, Miss Marple settled in her favorite chair, a soft old thing by the fire. Her parlor with simple wooden table, faded curtains, a shelf of books about flowers and birds. She poured tea, the pot heavy in her hands, and thought about the village. St. Mary Mead looked calm, with its ducks waddling by the pond and children chasing each other, giggling. But under the quiet, things bubbled. Tom's sore heart, Clara's empty purse. Even the vicar's frown when Ashford skipped church little cracks in the peaceful picture. The sun climbed higher, painting the sky gold. Miss Marple walked to the vicarage for tea, her boots crunching. On the gravel path, Griselda greeted her, all smiles, her pretty dress swaying. "Miss Marple, you must try my scones," she said, setting out plates. The vicar chuckled, but his eyes darted to the window. "That Mr. Ashford's been trouble," he said. "Wants to buy the meadow, build houses on it. Our meadow, where the children play." Griselda patted his hand, but her face tightened. Miss Marple sipped her tea, watching. Change upsets folks, she thought, and upset folks do rash things. As they chatted, a car roared past Mr. Ashford's shiny black one, speeding to the manor. Dust flew up, and the vicar coughed. "No manners," Griselda muttered. Miss Marple nodded, but her mind raced. She knew people how greed twisted them, how anger burned hot. She'd seen it once, years ago, when a farmer yelled at a boy over a broken fence. The boy sulked, then stole apples for spite. Small hurts. Big deeds, what might a man like Ashford stir up? The day rolled on. Miss Marple tended her garden, pulling weeds from her beloved pansies. The air smelled of earth and blooms. Old Mrs. Hill, her neighbor, leaned over the fence, her gray hair in a cap. "That Ashford's a hard man," she said. "Told Tom his work's no good. Owes Clara a fortune, and now he's after the meadow. What's next?" Miss Marple smiled. "Gentle as ever, as people talk, Mrs. Hill, we'll see what's true." But inside she wondered. A rich man new to the village, stepping on toast trouble brewed. Evening fell, soft and cool. Lights glowed in cottage windows, and the smell of supper roast meat and fresh bread filled the air. Miss Marple sat by her fire, knitting a blue scarf, the needles clicking like a steady heartbeat. The village seemed asleep, quiet as a baby ducks, settled by the pond. The church bell rang once, and stars winked above. But Miss Marple's sharp eyes missed nothing. She thought of Tom's red face, Clara's tight voice, the vicar's worry. St. Mary Mead looked peaceful, but under the surface, hearts beat fast with secrets. She set her knitting down, her hands still. "Something's coming," she whispered to herself, staring at the flames. "Something big." The clock ticked on her mantel, steady and slow. Outside, a dog barked, then went quiet. The village held its breath, and Miss Marple, wise and watchful, waited. She knew people, good ones, bad ones, and those in between. And she knew when calm hit a storm. Tomorrow, she'd walk the lanes again, chat with Mrs. Penny, smile at the vicar. She'd listen, watch, and piece things together, like her knitting stitch by stitch. For now she finished her tea, the cup warm in her hands, and looked out at the dark. St. Mary Mead was her home, her little world. But even here, in this quiet place, danger could creep in, swift and silent. And Miss Marple, with her gentle ways and clever mind, would be ready. The night deepened. Owl hooted in the oaks, and the wind rustled the leaves. Miss Marple pulled her shawl close, her thoughts sharp. Mr. Ashford, his big car and bigger plans, had shaken the village. Who disliked him enough to act? Tom, Clara, someone else? Didn't know yet. Died. But she'd find out the way she always did, by seeing what others missed. In her garden, the roses nodded in the breeze, their petals soft and bright. The village slept, or seemed to. Miss Marple closed her curtains, the fire crackling low. Tomorrow would bring news good, or bad, and she, the quiet old lady with the knowing eyes, would be there, ready to unravel it all. Chapter 2. A shocking discovery. The sun climbed higher over St. Mary Mead, painting the sky a bright blue. Dew sparkled on the grass, and the smell of fresh bread drifted from the bakery. Miss Jane Marple stepped out of her cottage, her straw hat tilted against the light, a basket on her arm. She planned to pick daisies for her table, maybe chat with Mrs. Penny at the post office. The village hummed along, children laughed by the pond. A horse clopped past, pulling a cart, and birds sang in the trees.
Ah!
Everything felt calm, like a perfect summer day, but then a scream cut the air, sharp and loud. Miss Marple froze, her hand on a daisy. The cry came from the direction of Ashford Manor, the big red brick house on the hill. Her heart skipped, but her eyes stayed steady, sharp as ever. Feet pounded down the lane. Young Billy, the butcher's boy, his face pale, his cap crooked. Miss Marple, he yelled, skidding to a stop, his breath fast. Awful Mr. Ashford, he's dead. Dead, Miss Marple said, her voice soft but firm. She set her basket down, hands calm. Slow down, Billy. Tell me what happened. The boy gulped, his brown eyes wide. I went to the manor delivering meat. See? Door was open and I called out, but no answer. Then I saw Jamin. Library on the floor, blood everywhere, and a candlestick by his head. Billy shook, his hands twisting. Miss Marple patted his shoulder, gentle but steady. You did right to run here. Now, fetch Constable Hurst. Quick, lad. Billy dashed off, his boots kicking dust. Miss Marple looked toward the manor, its tall windows glinting in the sun. Her mind raced, quick and quiet. Mr. Reginald Ashfordrich, loud and new to St. Mary Mead. Dead. Murdered by the sound of it. The village, so peaceful just moments ago, felt different now, like a storm cloud had rolled in. She thought of Tom the gardener's anger, Clarabelle's money worries, the vicar's frown. Troubles burst open, she murmured, picking up her basket. She wouldn't go to the manor yet. Best leave that to the police, but she'd listen, watch and think. Soon a crowd gathered near the manor gate. Villagers buzzed like bees, voices loud with shock. Mrs. Penny, her apron still on, wrung her. Hands? Murder. In St. Mary Mead. Who'd do such a thing? She cried. Old Mrs. Hill, leaning on her cane, shook her head. That Ashford was a hard man made enemies fast. Mr. Brown, the baker, wiped flour from his brow, muttering, Never thought it'd come to this. Miss Marple stood back, her small figure half hidden by a rose bush, her ears catching every word, her eyes noting every face. Constable Hurst arrived, a tall man with a red face and a stiff uniform. His boots crunched as he pushed through the crowd, Billy at his heels. Step back, folks. Let me do my job, he barked, his deep voice sharp. He marched up the manor's gravel drive, the big oak door still ajar. Miss Marple watched, her knitting needles clicking in her bag. She saw Mrs. Ashford, the widow, stumble out, her fancy dress rumpled, her dark hair loose. Tears streaked her. Pale face? He's gone. My Reginald. She sobbed, clutching the doorframe. Constable Hurst steadied her, his notebook out. When did you find him, ma'am? He asked. Just know I'd been out shopping, came back and... Oh, it's horrible, she wailed. Miss Marple tilted her head. Mrs. Ashford's tears looked real, but her hand shook a little too much. Her eyes darted too fast. Grief or something else? Miss Marple wondered. She'd seen a girl once, crying over a lost cat, but really hiding a broken vase she'd smashed. People hid things, even in pain. She stepped closer, quiet as a shadow, listening as the crowd whispered. She never liked him, Mrs. Penny said to Mr. Brown. Heard them yelling last week something about money. Mr. Brown nodded, and he fired Tom, poor lad's furious. Tom the gardener stood nearby, his spade in hand, his face dark. His old shirt was muddy, his boots worn. Good riddance, he muttered, low enough that only Miss Marple caught. It. She saw his jaw tighten, his eyes flicker to the manor. Anger burns hot, she thought. Remembering a village fight years back, a man punched another over a stolen pig, hate flaring fast. Was Tom that mad? She filed it away, her mind sharp. Clarabelle pushed through, her shop apron tied tight, her dark eyes blazing. He owed me £50. She snapped to Mrs. Hill, said he'd pay, but never did. Now what? Her hands, balled into fists, her cheeks red. Miss Marple watched, quiet. His debt stung like a beak. Clara's temper showed it. Once, a shop boy in the village had yelled at a customer over a late bill, nearly coming to blows. Could Clara's rage go further? Miss Marple's needles clicked, her thoughts spinning. Constable Hurst came back out, his face grim. Right. Folks, go home. Mr. Ashford's dead hit with a candlestick. Looks like we're handling it. The crowd gasped, voices rising. Murder, Mrs. Penny squeaked. Who'd do it? A boy asked. Miss Marple stayed still, her eyes on the constable. He held a heavy silver candlestick, blood smudged on its base, wrapped in a cloth. Found this by him, he said to a young officer. No fingerprints yet messy seen. Miss Marple noted the candlestick big solid, one of a pair she'd seen in the manor once. When she'd visited for a charity tea, she slipped away, walking slow toward the vicarage. The village buzzed behind her, folks clustering, guessing. Tom hated him, one said. Mrs. Ashford's too weepy acting, maybe, another whispered. Miss Marple's mind turned. The candlestick meant a sudden fight and gore, not a plan. Or was it? She recalled a quarrel long ago to women. One grabbed a poker in a flash, struck out. Passion or panic drove that blow. Who felt that way about Ashford? At the vicarage, Griselda, the vicar's young wife, opened the door, her red curls wild. Miss Marple, you've heard. It's dreadful, she said, her hands flying. The vicar, Mr. Clement, paced behind her, his bald head shiny with sweat. Murder here? Ashford was a thorn, but this? He said, his voice shaky. Miss Marple sat, her basket at her feet, and took the tea Griselda offered. Tell me what you know, she said, gentle but firm. Griselda leaned in. He was trouble wanted our meadow for houses. We argued yesterday, he shouted. Wave that cane of his. Now he's gone. The vicar nodded. I saw him last night. Near the manor, alive and loud. Then this morning, Billy found him. Miss Marple sipped her tea, the cup warm in her hands. Where were you today? She asked, her tone light. The vicar blinked. In the church tidying? Griselda was. Here, cooking. Griselda laughed, nervous. Burnt my scones, too. Miss Marple smiled, but her eyes watched. The vicar's worry, Griselda's quick frill, or hiding something. She'd known a man once, all smiles, till he was caught stealing from the church box. She left the vicarage, the sun dipping low, casting long shadows. The village felt tight, like a held breath. Ducks waddled by the pond, unaware, but folks stood in knots, whispering. Miss Marple walked past the shop. Clara was inside, counting coins, her face hard. No money from him now, she muttered. Tom leaned on a fence nearby, staring at the manor, his spade gripped tight. Mrs. Ashford's car sat by the house, the widow inside, curtains drawn. Miss Marple reached her cottage, the roses nodding. In her garden, she sat by the window, knitting a blue scarf, the needles clicking steady. Her mind pieced things together. Billy's story, the bloody candlestick, the angry faces. Mr. Ashford, rich and rude, had riled the village. Tom fired and mad. Clara cheated and cross. Mrs. Ashford weeping too loud. Even the vicar upset. Over the meadow, who snapped? Why a candlestick? Was it quick or planned? The sky turned pink, then gray. A chill crept in, and Miss Marple pulled her shawl close. She thought of St. Mary Mead, her quiet home, now shaken. Murder was rare here, but people were people greed. Hate, fear bubbled under the surface. She'd seen it before. Jealous wife, a sneaky thief, small sparks that lit big fires. Someone struck him down, she thought. But why? And who? She set her knitting down, her hands still.
Ow.
The fire crackled, casting light on her lace. Curtains outside, the village settled, lights glowing in windows. But the manor loomed dark, a heavy shadow. Miss Marple's eyes, bright and clever, stared out. She didn't know the killer yet, but she'd watch every glance, every word. The truth hid, like a weed in her garden, and she'd find it, quiet and sure. Tomorrow, she'd walk the lanes. Talk to Mrs. Penny, visit Clara, nod to Tom. She'd listen to the village's heartbeat, feel its secrets. For now. She finished her tea, the cup cool now, and stood, St. Mary Mead was shocked, its peace broken. But Miss Marple, the gentle lady with the sharp mind, was ready. A murder had come, and she'd unravel it stitch by stitch till the puzzle fit. Chapter 3. Suspects and secrets. The morning sun peeked over St. Mary Mead, casting a soft glow on the cottages and the dewy grass. A rooster crowed and the smell of bacon drifted from open windows. Miss Jane Marple sat at her small table, sipping tea from a chipped cup, her knitting needles resting by her side. The village still buzzed from yesterday's shock. Mr. Reginald Ashford, the rich newcomer dead in his manor, struck down by a candlestick. Her sharp eyes, bright behind her gentle face, turned it over. Murder in her quiet village. Who had done it? Why? She stood, smoothing her skirt, and grabbed her straw hat. Today, she'd walk, listen, and watch. People talked when they thought you weren't looking. Secrets slipped out like crumbs from a loaf. Miss Marple stepped out, the air cool, the lane busy with folks. Children skipped, a cart rattled by, and ducks quacked at the pond. But whispers hung heavy murder, a dark cloud over St. Mary Mead. Constable Hurst was busy at Ashford Manor, his big boots stomping up the drive. He'd set a guard, a young lad in uniform, to keep folks away. Miss Marple didn't go near police business for now. Instead, she strolled to the post office, her basket swinging. Mrs. Penny, round and chatty, leaned over the counter, sorting letters. Miss Marple, what a mess. Poor Mr. Ashford killed. Who'd do such a wicked thing? She said, her hands flapping. Miss Marple smiled, soft and calm. A sad day, Mrs. Penny. What do folks say? The postmistress leaned close, her voice low plenty. Mrs. Ashford, the widow, was crying buckets, but I heard her yell at him 2 nights back, something about his spending. She's got a temper, that one. Miss Marple nodded, her mind ticking. A wife cross with her husband, common enough. She'd known a couple once, bickering over coins. The wife red-faced and loud. Could Mrs. Ashford's anger turn to murder? Interesting, she said, quiet, tucking it away. She walked on, the sun warming her hat. Near the bakery, Mr. Brown kneaded dough, his big hands busy. Morning, Miss Marple, he called, wiping sweat. Awful business at the manor. She paused, her eyes kind. Yes, terrible. Any thoughts, Mr. Brown? He frowned, dusting flour off. That Tom, the gardener, he was mad as a hornet. Ashford sacked him, you know. Saw him yesterday, glaring at the manor, spade in hand. Miss Marple's lips twitched. Tom fired, and bitter anger burned deep. She remembered a lad, long ago tossed from a job, who smashed a window in a fury. Was Tom that wild? She thanked Mr. Brown and moved on. Down the lane, Clara Bell's shop stood, its door open. Miss Marple stepped in, the bell jingling. Clara sharp-witted and quick stacked sugar bags, her face tight. "This morning, Miss Marple," she said, short and stiff. "Heard the news, I suppose?" Miss Marple nodded. "Poor Mr. Ashford. You knew him, Clara."
Ah.
The shopkeeper's hand stopped, her cheeks red. "Owed me £50? Kept saying later, later, never paid? I've a shop to run, bills to pay." Her voice snapped, sharp as a whip. Miss Marple watched, gentle. Debt stung once. A farmer here cursed a man over unpaid hay. Nearly fought him. Could Clara's rage boil over? Shame, Miss Marple said, and left her thoughts spinning. The village hummed, folks clustering, talking fast. By the church, the vicar, Mr. Clement, swept the path, his bald head shiny. Miss Marple. "A dark day," he said, his eyes worried. Driselda, his lively wife, joined him, her red curls bouncing. "Shocking murder. Here," she said, hands on hips. Miss Marple smiled. "Yes, dreadful. You saw Mr. Ashford lately?" The vicar sighed, argued with him about the meadow. He wanted to build houses, ruin it. "Last night, he was alive, stomping about." Griselda frowned. "I was here baking. He was a rude man, but this—" Miss Marple listened, her mind quick. The meadow meant a Laudergear overland, ran deep. She'd seen a man once, wild over a field, shake his fist. Was the vicar that upset? She wandered on, passing the pond. Tom. The gardener leaned on a fence, his old shirt muddy, his face hard. He stared at the manor, his spade gripped tight. Miss Marple paused, her voice soft. "Good morning, Tom. Sad news about Mr. Ashford?" He grunted, eyes narrow. Didn't like him. Fired me after all my work. Good riddance, I say. His jaw clenched, his hands tight. Miss Marple nodded, calm. Anger like that burned hot she'd known a boy, cheated of wages, who broke a barn door. Could Tom strike a man down? She walked away, thinking back near the manor. The crowd lingered. Mrs. Ashford sat on a bench, her fancy dress creased, a hanky to her eyes. My poor husband. She sobbed, loud enough for all. Constable Hurst scribbled in his book, asking, "Where were you, ma'am, this morning?" She sniffed. Out shopping in town, came home and found him. Her hands shook, her gaze darted. Miss Marple, half hidden by a tree, watched. Tears, yes, but too quick, too big. She'd seen a woman cry once, loud and fast, to hide a lie. Was Mrs. Ashford real, or playing a part? Folks whispered. She fought with him, a girl said. Tom hated him. Maybe he did it, a man muttered. Clara's mad about money, Mrs. Penny added. Miss Marple's ears caught it all, her mind like a puzzle, fitting pieces. Mrs. Ashford, cross and weepy. Tom, bitter and strong. Lara, cheated and sharp. The vicar, worried for his meadow. Who had the heart and the chance to kill? The candlestick, heavy and bloody, nagged at her. A sudden blow in a flash of rage, or a clever trick. She strolled to the edge of the village, the hills green and quiet. The sun blazed, bees buzzed in the flowers, but St. Mary Mead felt tight, uneasy. Miss Marple sat on a bench, her basket at her feet, and pulled out her knitting. The needles clicked, steady and sure, as she thought. Suspects aplenty. Mrs. Ashford, with her fights and tears. Tom, fired and furious. Clara owed and angry. Even the vicar riled by change. Each had a reason, a spark. She'd seen it before. Jealousy, greed, hurt, turning hands to bad deeds. A boy ran by, shouting, "Police are searching the manor." Miss Marple looked up, her eyes keen. Constable Hurst and his lad poked about, looking for clues. What would they find? Footprint? A dropped glove? She didn't know yet, but she'd watch. People hid things, lies in their smiles, fear in their eyes. She'd learned that, year after year, in this little village. A woman once swore she was home, but her muddy shoes told the truth. Secrets always slipped out. The day wore on, the sky gold, then pink. Miss Marple walked home, her boots soft on the path. The manor loomed, dark and still, its windows like blank eyes. Folks hurried inside, doors shutting, voices low. The ducks settled, the church bell rang, slow and deep. Miss Marple reached her cottage, the roses bright in her garden. She lit her fire, the crackle warm, and sat knitting again. The blue scarf grew, stitch by stitch, like her thoughts. Who killed Mr. Ashford? Mrs. Ashford, to end a bad marriage? Tom, in a burst of rage. Clara, desperate for cash. The vicar pushed too far. The candlestick meant a quick strike and grr, panic, or a plan to fool. Miss Marple's mind turned, sharp and clear. St. Mary Mead was shocked, its heart racing. But she, the quiet lady with the clever head, saw the cracked secrets. Waiting to spill, she sipped tea, the cup warm, and stared at the flames. Tomorrow, she'd talk to Clara, nod to Tom, visit the vicarage. She'd listen to whispers, watch hands and eyes. Murder had shaken her village, but Miss Marple was steady. The truth hid, like a pebble in the stream, and she'd find it gentle. And sure, the night fell, cool and dark, the village hushed. She pulled her shawl close, her eyes bright. A killer walked among them, and she'd see them clear, step by step. Chapter 4. The clue in the carpet. The sun rose over St. Mary Mead, painting the sky pink and gold. A cool breeze rustled the leaves, carrying the scent of fresh grass and baking bread. Miss Jane Marple, neat in her tweed skirt and straw hat, stepped out of her cottage, her basket on her arm. The village still buzzed with talk of Mr. Ashford's murder struck down in his manor, a bloody candlestick by his side. Folks whispered, eyes wide, hearts racing. Miss Marple's mind, sharp and quiet, turned over the suspects. Mrs. Ashford's tears, Tom's anger, Clara's debt, who snapped. She aimed to find out. Today the vicar's wife, Griselda, had invited her to Ashford Manor. Come see the place, Miss Marple. We're helping Mrs. Ashford sort things, Griselda had said, her red curls bouncing. Miss Marple nodded, knowing a visit might show more than gossip. She walked the lane, passing cottages with bright flowers, ducks waddling by the pond. Children laughed, a cart clopped by, but the air felt heavy, the village on edge at the manor. The big red brick house loomed, its tall windows dull in the light. The oak door creaked open, and Griselda waved. Miss Marple, come in, she called, her smile bright but nervous. Inside, the hall was grand wood panels, a wide staircase, chandeliers sparkling above. Mrs. Ashford sat in a chair, her face pale, her hanky twisted in her hands. It's awful, she sniffed, her voice shaky. Constable Hurst was gone, off chasing leads. But a young officer stood by, watching the door. Miss Marple smiled, gentle and calm. A sad time, Mrs. Ashford. May I look about, for comfort's sake? The widow nodded, dabbing her eyes. Griselda led the way, chattering. The library's where it happened. Dreadful. They stepped into the room, big and dim, with shelves of books reaching the ceiling. Thick red carpet lay underfoot. A desk sat by the window, and chairs stood stiff and silent. A dark stain marked the floor, Mr. Ashford's blood now dry. Miss Marple's heart dipped, but her eyes stayed keen. She paced slow, her boots soft on the carpet. Dust danced in the sunlight, and a clock ticked loud. Griselda fidgeted. Horrible, isn't it? Lying there, the candlestick beside him. Miss Marple nodded, her gaze roving. Then she saw it, a muddy footprint, small and faint near. The desk pressed into the carpet. Odd, she thought. The manor was clean. The maids busy. Why mud here? And so small, a child's shoe. A woman's. She bent low, her hands steady, peering close. Curious, she murmured. Quiet so Griselda didn't hear. Her eyes slid to the desk. Papers lay scattered, bills, letters, a map of the meadow. A book sat odd, tipped on its side, not neat like the rest.
Ow.
She stepped closer, reading the spine. Gardening for beginners. Strange, she thought. Mr. Ashford, a city man, cared for land deals, not plants. Why this book? Was it moved? Dropped? She'd seen a case once. A thief hid a stolen ring in a book, knocked it askew in a rush. Did the killer touch this? Mind ticked, fast and sure. Griselda chattered on. Constable Hurst took the candlestick, a full thing, all bloody. He says it's murder, plain and simple. Miss Marple nodded, her face kind. A shock, Griselda. Did you see anything odd yesterday? The young wife frowned. No, I was baking. The vicar was at church. We heard nothing, then Billy found him. Miss Marple watched her, the quick words, the twitchy hands, honest or nervous. She'd known a girl once, all smiles, hiding a secret with fast talk. Mrs. Ashford called from the hall. Griselda, help me with these boxes. Griselda hurried off, leaving Miss Marple alone. She lingered, her eyes sharp. The footprint nagged small, muddy, out of place. She scanned the room, a fireplace, cold and empty. A velvet curtain, heavy and still. A second chair pushed back. No other marks, no dropped clues. But the book gardening for beginners stuck in her head. Why here? Did the killer grab it, move it, leave a hint? She stepped to the window, looking out. The manor garden stretched. Wide green lawn, rose beds, a path to the woods. Tom the gardener had worked there, till Ashford fired him. Did he stomp in, mad, leave that print? Or Mrs. Ashford, in small shoes, upset from a fight. Clara Bell owed money. Could she slip in? Miss Marple's thoughts spun, steady and clear. She'd seen mud before. Boy tracked it in, lying about. A fight. The dirt, a quiet clue. She left the library, her steps slow. In the hall, Mrs. Ashford sorted coats, her hands shaky. "He was a good man," she said, eyes wet. Miss Marple nodded. "I'm sure. Where were you, dear, before you found him?" The widow blinked. "Shopping town back by noon. Then, him." Her voice broke too loud. Miss Marple watched, gentle. Tears, yes, but the darting eyes again. Real grief, or a show? She'd known a woman, crying hard, hiding a bad deed. Outside, the sun climbed warm and bright. Miss Marple thanked Griselda and stepped to the path. The village lay below, cottages neat, smoke curling up. But the manor felt dark, heavy with secrets. She walked home, passing the shop. Clara Bell swept the step, her face tight. Still no money, thanks to him, she snapped to a neighbor. Miss Marple heard, her mind turning. Down the lane, Tom dug in a field, his spade hitting dirt, his eyes on the manor. Anger still burned there, she saw. At her cottage, the roses nodded, bright and sweet. Miss Marple sat by her fire, knitting her blue scarf, the needles clicking. The footprints small, muddy danced in her thoughts. The book, too gardening, odd for Ashford. Did the killer touch it, panic, leave it wrong? She sipped tea. The cup warm, her mind racing. St. Mary Mead buzzed out, side folks talked, wild guesses flying. Tom did it, mad as a bull, a man said. Mrs. Ashford, too weepy, a woman hissed. Clara's temper, watch her, another added.
Dad!
Miss Marple listened from her window, her ears sharp. Mrs. Ashford, teary and quick. Tom, bitter and strong. Clara, cross and broke. Each had a reason, a chance. The vicar, too, riled by the meadow. She thought back years ago. A maid left a mark, a smudge on a wall, after a row. Small clues told big tales. This footprint, this book hints, waiting to talk. Was it rage? A sudden blow? Or a trick planned? Cold? The candlestick gone to the police? Meant a fast strike? Who moved that fast? Miss Marple's needles clicked, her head clear. The sky turned gold, then gray. The village settled, lights glowing, ducks quiet by the pond. The manor sat dark. A puzzle unsolved. Miss Marple set her knitting down, her hands still. Murder shook St. Mary Mead. Scared folks broke the calm. But she saw deeper secrets in glances, lies in words. The footprint, the book clues to chase. Who left them? Why? Tomorrow she'd walk again, chat with Mrs. Penny, nod to Tom watch. Clara, she'd dig quiet and sure, like weeding her garden. The killer hid, but not for long. As Marple pulled her shawl close, her eyes bright. The truth lay close, buried in the mess. She'd find it, stitch by stitch, till the picture came. Clear, the fire crackled, the night deep, and St. Mary Mead waited tense for answers. Chapter 5. Village whispers morning light bathed St. Mary Mead, turning the dew on the grass to tiny jewels. A gentle wind carried the smell of fresh hay and warm bread from the bakery. Miss Jane Marple sat by her window, her tea steaming in, a chipped cup, her knitting needles quiet in her lap. The village reeled from Mr. Ashford's murder bludgeoned in his manor library, a candlestick the grim tool. Her sharp mind churned. The muddy footprint, small and odd, the gardening book. Out of place? Who struck him? She'd listen today, catch the whispers, see the truth peek out. She slipped on her straw hat, grabbed her basket, and stepped into the lane. Cottages glowed with roses, children giggled by the pond, a horse cart clattered past. But talk of murder hummed heavy and low. Folks clustered, eyes wide, voices quick. Miss Marple walked slow, her boots soft, ready to hear the village spill its secrets. At the post office, Mrs. Penny sorted mail, her round face alive with chatter. Miss Marple, to scandal, she burst out, hands waving. Mrs. Ashford saw. Her myself, yelling at him 3 days back. You're a fool with money, she shouted, right outside. Now he's dead. Miss Marple nodded, her smile gentle. A shock, Mrs. Penny? What else do folks say? The postmistress leaned close. Some reckon she wanted him good fancy life. No husband to nag her. Miss Marple's eyes twinkled. A wife's temper she'd seen it flare once, a woman. Tossing plates at a lazy man. Could Mrs. Ashford's rage turn deadly? She tucked it away. Down the lane, the bakery bustled. Mr. Brown, his apron dusted with flour, waved. Morning, Miss Marple. Awful business, eh? She paused, kind and calm. Terrible, Mr. Brown. Any news? He wiped his brow. Tom, that gardener, stormed off after Ashford fired him. Saw him yesterday, muttering red as a beet. He'll pay, he said. Miss Marple's lips twitched. Tom's anger burned. Bright she'd known a lad, cheated at cards, who punched a wall. Did Tom's fist find Ashford? She thanked him and strolled on. Near the shop, Clara Bell swept the step, her dark eyes hard, her broom quick. Miss Marple stepped close. Morning. Clara, sad times, aren't they? Clara's face tightened. Sad? He owed me £50? Never paid, left me scrambling? Good riddance, if you ask me. Her voice snapped, her hands tight. Miss Marple nodded, soft. Debt bit deep a farmer, once cursed a man over a bad loan. Nearly swung at him. Could Clara's hurt boil to murder? Pity, Miss Marple said, and moved along, thinking. The church bell rang, slow and clear. The vicar, Mr. Clement, raked leaves, his bald head shiny. Griselda, his cheery wife, waved. Miss Marple. What a mess, murder. She said, her red curls bouncing. The vicar sighed. Ashford pushed us, all wanted the meadow for houses. We fought, but this. Miss Marple smiled, dreadful. Where were you yesterday? Griselda laughed. Baking burnt my buns. Leonard was here praying. The vicar nodded, eyes down. Hey. Miss Marple watched Griselda's quick giggle, his quiet look. Honest or hiding? She'd seen a man, calm as day, lie about a stolen coin. Whispers flew thicker now. By the pond, old Mrs. Hill leaned on her cane, talking to a boy. Mrs. Ashford's no saint heard her snap at him. I'll be free one day, she croaked. The boy nodded. Tom's mad said Ashford deserved a thump. Miss Marple lingered, half hidden by a tree, ears open. At the baker's cart, two women gossiped. Clara's alibi's shaky, one said. I told me she was home, but I saw her near the manor early, the other hissed. Miss Marple's mind spun Clara, out of place. She'd known a girl, swearing. She stayed in till a neighbor saw her sneak. Then a new whisper caught her ear. Young Billy, the butcher's boy, sat by the pond, tossing stones. Mrs. Penny joined him, voice low. Heard Tom and Clara talking night before last, close like sweethearts? Tom said, We'll fix him, love. What's that mean? Billy shrugged, eyes big. Miss Marple, near a bush, heard it clear. A romance. Tom and Clara tied by love, both mad at Ashford? She'd seen a pair once, young and cross, plot to trick a bully. Did they plan more? Her thoughts raced. She wandered to the manor gate, the big house dark, its windows blank. Constable Hurst strode out, his red face stern. Ain't no news yet, he told the crowd, notebook in hand. Killer's slight candlestick's all we've got. Folks murmured. Tom's temper, Mrs. Ashford's tears, Clara's money. Miss Marple stood back, watching. Mrs. Ashford stepped out, her dress fine, her eyes wet. My poor Reginald, she cried loud and wobbly. Her hands shook, her gaze flicked fast.
Ow!
Miss Marple noted it grief for a mask. A woman once wept big, tears hiding a cheat. A man piped up. Heard Ashford had a will hidden, they say. Leaves it all to someone odd. Miss Marple's ears pricked. A will? When he shifted hearts, he'd seen a son fight a father over land, greed blazing. Who'd gain from Ashford? Mrs. Ashford. Wanting riches? Tom and Clara, hoping for cash. Shh! She filed it away, her mind sharp. The sun climbed high, warm on the lanes. Miss Marple sat on a bench, her basket down, knitting out. The needles clicked. Steady as she pieced it together. Mrs. Ashford fights big tears? Maybe a lie. Tom fired, furious, whispering with Clara. Clara Wode, angry, seen near the manor. A hidden will, shifting the stakes. The footprint, small and muddy, the gardening book clues, nagging her. Was it rage, a quick blow, or a cold plan? Village talk swirled. Mrs. Ashford sly, a girl said. Thanked Tom and Clara thick as thieves. A man muttered. That will who gets it? Another asked. Yes. Miss Marple listened, her eyes keen. People hid fear in a glance, guilt in a word. She'd seen it a boy quiet, till his shaky hands told of a theft. The candlestick meant a fast strike anger, panic, or a trick. She walked home, the sky turning gold. Cottages glowed, smoke rose, ducks settled. Tom dug in a field, his eyes dark. Clara locked her shop, frowning. Mrs. Ashford's car sat by the manor, curtains shut. Miss Marple reached her cottage, roses bright in her garden. She lit her fire, the crackle cozy, and sat, knitting her blue scarf. Her mind buzzed, suspects, motives, whispers. Mrs. Ashford, torn by fights, free now. Tell me, Clara, a secret love. Both wronged, the will, a prize to kill for. The footprint, the book hints of truth, who moved when? Miss Marple sipped tea, the cup warm, her thoughts clear. St. Mary Mead shook, scared and loud, but she stayed steady. She'd seen hurt turn darker, jealous wife, a broke man, small sparks to big deeds. The sky faded, night creeping in. Lights twinkled, the village hushed. The manor loomed, heavy with mystery. Miss Marple set her knitting down, her hands still. Tomorrow she'd chat with Clara, watch Tom, ask about the will. Whispers held clues, and she'd catch them, quiet and sure. The killer hid, but not deep enough. She pulled her shawl close, eyes bright. The truth waited, and she'd find it, step by step, till all fit right. Chapter 6. The missing candlestick. Dawn broke over St. Mary Mead, the sky a soft pink, the air cool and fresh. Birds sang in the oaks, and the smell of damp earth mixed with baking bread. Miss Jane Marple sat by her fire, her tea warm in a chipped cup, her knitting needles still. The village buzzed with Mr. Ashford's murder bludgeoned in his manor library, a silver candlestick, the deadly tool. Her sharp mind turned, the muddy footprint, the odd gardening book, whispers of fights, debt, and a hidden will. Who struck him? She'd dig deeper today. She tied her straw hat, grabbed her basket, and stepped out. Cottages shone with dew, roses nodded, a cart rumbled by. Folks gathered, voices low, eyes big. Murder still shook them. Miss Marple walked the lane, her boots quiet, ready to catch hints in the chatter. The candlestick nagged her constable. Hurst had one, bloody and heavy, but she'd seen a pair at the manor once, for a tea. Where was the other? At the post office? Mrs. Penny waved, her round cheeks pink. Miss Marple. No news killers loose, she said, sorting letters fast. That candlestick awful. One of two, right? Miss Marple nodded, calm. Yes, a pair, I recall. Do folks think? Mrs. Penny leaned in. Some say Mrs. Ashford hid it. She's sly, crying so loud. Fought him over cash, too. Miss Marple's eyes twinkled. A wife, angry, free now. She'd seen a woman, mad at a man, smash a jug. Did Mrs. Ashford grab the second one? Ash! On thinking by the bakery, Mr. Brown needed dough, flour on his hands. Morning, Miss Marple. Terrible times, he called. She smiled, gentle, sad indeed. The candlestick one's gone, but the pair, he frowned. Too shiny. Silver. Maybe the killer took it. Tom was raging, after the firing. Miss Marple nodded. Tom, bitter and strong, she'd known a lad tossed from work who stole in spite. Hid the candlestick, or used it. She thanked him, her mind busy. Clara. Bell's shop hummed, the bell jingling as Miss Marple entered. Clara, sharp and quick, stacked tins, her face tight. Morning, she said, short. Ashford's mess, still no pay for me? Miss Marple tilted her head. Dreadful, Clara. You saw the candlesticks there? Clara's eyes flashed. Fancy things, too, by the fire. One's the weapon, they say. Good riddance to him. Her hands shook, angry. Miss Marple watched, soft. Dead hurt she'd seen a man, owed money, break a chair in a fit. Clara, mad enough to hide one, she left, puzzling. Near the church, the vicar, Mr. Clement, raked, his face worried. Griselda waved, cheery. Miss Marple, this murder's wild, she said. The vicar sighed. Ashford pushed us over the meadow. Now this. Miss Marple smiled. Awful. Those candlesticks, too. Yes. One's missing. The vicar blinked. Yes. A pair silver. Heavy. Never saw the other after. That. Griselda shrugged. I was baking, missed it all. Miss Marple noted their eyes, his quiet, hers fast. Hiding something? She'd seen a shy boy lie, calm as day. Whispers grew. By the pond, old Mrs. Hill gossiped. Mrs. Ashford's odd hid that candlestick. Mark me, wanted his money. A lad nodded. Tom and Claire cozy they are, heard Tom say, Will. Get ours, Miss Marple, near a bush, listened. In love, both wrong did they plot, stash the candlestick. She'd known a pair, sneaky. Hide a tool after a prank. A will, too, floated in talk riches to someone. Greed shifted. Heart she'd seen a sun grab at land. Then a shout young Billy ran up, breathless. Miss Marple saw a shadow last. Night by the manor, moving fast, near the garden. His eyes popped, his cap askew. She patted his arm, calm. Good boy, Billy. Tall, short. He shrugged. Dark quick. Scared me. Miss Marple's mind raced. Shadow killer. Back to hide the candlestick, or clue. She'd seen a thief once, creeping at night, caught by a mark. She neared the manor, its red brick grim, windows dark. Constable Hurst stood outside, his red face stern. No second candlestick yet, he told his lad. Notebook out. Killer's clever, maybe took it. Mrs. Ashford wept nearby, her dress fine, her hanky wet. My Reginald, she sobbed. Loud, hands jumpy. Miss Marple watched, quiet. Tears, or a trick. A woman once cried hard, masking a deed. The crowd buzzed Tom's temper. Clara's fury, she's acting. Miss Marple sat on a bench, the sun high, her basket down. She pulled out her knitting, needles clicking, thoughts whirling. The candlestick one found, bloody. The other gone, pair silver, heavy stolen. To hide Mrs. Ashford, fighting, maybe greedy? Tom fired, tied to Clara. Clara owed fierce. The shadow, someone sneaky, back at night. The footprint, small. The book, odd clues piled up. Rage, a fast blow, or a plan, cool and sly. Talk flew, Mrs. Ashford's, after the will. Man said, Tom and Claire hiding something, a woman hissed. That shadow killer's near, boy gasped. Miss Marple's ears caught it, her eyes sharp. People lied guilt in a twitch, fear in a look. She'd seen a girl, nervous, hide a broken cup. The candlestick gone to cover tracks, who crept back. She walked home, the sky gold, then pink. Cottages glowed, smoke curled, ducks slept. Tom dug hard, eyes on the manor. Clara locked her shop, frowning. Mrs. Ashford's car sat still, curtains shut. Miss Marple reached her cottage, roses bright. She lit her fire, the crackle warm, and sat, knitting her blue scarf. Her mind spun sesks, reasons, hints, Mrs. Ashford fights, tears, maybe a lie. Tom and Clara love, anger, a team. Will riches to kill for. The footprint, the book, now a missing candlestick and a shadow. Who moved? Why? The blow was quick fury, panic, or a ruse. Miss Marple sipped tea, the cup warm, her head clear. St. Mary Mead trembled, scared, and loud, but she stayed steady. She'd seen hurt turn bad, a jealous man, a broke girl, sparks to flames. Night fell, cool and dark. Lights twinkled, the village hushed. The manor loomed, a puzzle deep. Miss Marple set her knitting down, hands still. Tomorrow she'd watch. Tom, asked Clara, peek at the garden. The shadow key, maybe. The candlestick hidden close. The killer walked free, but she'd spot them, quiet and sure. She pulled her shawl tight, eyes bright. The truth hid, like a stone in mud, and she'd dig it up, step by step, till it shone clear. Chapter 7. A Tea Party Revelation. The sun hung high over St. Mary Mead, bathing the village in warm gold. A soft breeze danced through the trees, carrying scents of roses and fresh bread. Miss Jane Marple fussed in her cottage, setting a lace cloth on her table, arranging cups, and piling scones on a plate. The murder of Mr. Ashford struck down in his manor. A candlestick, the weapon, still shook the village. Her sharp mind buzzed. A muddy footprint, an odd gardening book, a missing candlestick, a night shadow. Whispers of fight, debt, and a hidden will swirled. Today she'd host tea, listen close, and watch for truth. She'd invited folks, Mrs. Ashford, Tom, Clara, the vicar, and Griselda, hoping talk would spill secrets. Miss Marple, in her neat skirt and straw hat, smoothed her white hair and lit the fire. The village hummed outside, children chased by the pond. A cart rattled. Ducks quacked. But fear lingered, murder's shadow dark. Her needles rested, her eyes bright, ready to catch every twitch, every slip. The clock chimed 2, and guests arrived. Griselda bounced in, her red curls wild, a grin big. Miss Marple. Lovely tea, she said, plopping down. The vicar, Mr. Clement followed, his bald head shiny, eyes worried. Kind of you, Miss Marple, he mumbled. Clarabelle marched in, her dark eyes sharp, apron off. Thanks, she said, short and stiff. Tom, the gardener, muddy boots left outside, sat gruff, his face red. Mrs. Ashford swept in last, her fancy dress crisp, her hanky clutched. So nice, she sniffed, eyes wet. Miss Marple smiled, gentle and warm. Welcome all. Sad time, let's share a cup. She poured tea, steam rising, and passed scones. The fire crackled, the room cozy, but tension hung thick. She started soft. Poor Mr. Ashford, such a shock. Mrs. Ashford, how are you, dear? The widow dabbed her eyes, hands shaky. Awful. My Reginald gone. I was shopping, then found him dead. Her voice wailed, loud, her gaze flicking fast. Miss Marple nodded, watching, tears. Yes, but too jumpy. She'd seen a girl cry hard, hiding a lie. She turned to Tom. A hard loss. Tom, you worked for him. He grunted, his big hands tight. Fired me. He did mean, man. Didn't deserve my roses. His eyes blazed, jaw set. Miss Marple sipped tea.com. Anger burned. She'd known a lad sacked who trashed a shed. Did Tom strike? She glanced at Clara. And you, Clara? He owed you, I hear. Clara's cheeks reddened, her cup clinked. £50? Kept me waiting, bills piling. Good riddance. Her voice snapped, sharp. Miss Marple noted it. Debt stung like a man she'd seen mad, breaking a gate. Vicar shifted, uneasy. He pushed us all, wanted the meadow, our children's spot. Griselda patted him. I'd burnt my buns that day, fussing. Terrible end. Miss Marple smiled, soft. Sad indeed. You were at church, Vicar? He nodded, praying, tiding. She watched his quiet look, her quick laugh. True, or a mask? She'd seen a shy wife cover a secret with chatter. Talk flowed, voices mixing. Miss Marple steered gentle. Dot. Those candlesticks, lovely pair. One's gone. Odd, yes? Mrs. Ashford's hands jerked, tea splashing. I don't know. By the fire they were. Her eyes darted, fast. Miss Marple's mind ticked nerves, or guilt. Tom growled. Fancy junk, don't care where. It's at. His fists balled. Clara scoffed. Rich man's toys. Maybe hid it himself. Her tone bit, her look hard. The vicar frowned. Saw them once gone now, I suppose? Griselda giggled. It's mystery like my bad scones. Miss Marple poured more tea, her eyes keen. The garden, Tom, your pride. Ashford liked it? Eh, Tom's? Face lit, then soured. Loved my rare liller, then tossed me. took hours, planting those. His voice rose, eager, then fell. Miss Marple tilted her head, Lillarare fussy. Why care? Then fire him. She'd seen a man boast of crops hiding. A grudge? A clue? She turned to Clara. You lock your shop, Clara, any keys about? Clara blinked. Quick. Just mine safe. Was home anyway. Her hands gripped her cup, tight. Miss Marple nodded. A key set or not. The boy once swore his box was locked. Till a theft proved a lie. The room buzzed. Cups clinked. Fire popped. Mrs. Ashford sobbed. He was good-loved me. Ow. Her hands shook too much. Tom glared, silent. Clara frowned, sharp. The vicar sighed. Griselda chattered. Miss Marple watched shaky hands, hard eyes, quick words, secrets hid here. She'd seen it greed in a glance, anger in a fist. Years back, a tea party showed a thief nervous, spilling tea, caught red-handed. More. Scones, she asked, passing the plate. They ate, talked village gossip, weather, then murder. Who'd do it? Griselda mused. Someone mad, Tom muttered, or owed, Clara snapped, glancing away. A shock, the vicar said, eyes down. Mrs. Ashford wept, loud. Miss Marple listened, piecing it. The candlestick missing. Hidden? Tom's Lillo eye mentioned them? Clara's key safe? Or loose? Mrs. Ashford's tears real? Or fake? The sun dipped, light fading to gold. Guests rose, thanking her. Mrs. Ashford left, hanky wet, steps quick. Tom stomped out, face dark. Clara nodded, stiff, hurrying off. The vicar and Griselda waved, slow to go. Miss Marple shut the door, her cottage quiet, the fire low. She sat, knitting her blue scarf, needles clicking, mind racing. The tea-worked hints dropped like crumbs, Mrs. Ashford's shaky hands, jumpy. Eyes grief or a show? Tom's rage, his rare Liliad pride for a fired man. Clara's key, her quick words home, or near the manor. The vicar's worry. Griselda's laugh, steady or sly. The candlestick gone, a cover. The footprint, small. The book, misplaced clues, tied in. A will, torches to grab. Was it anger, a fast blow? Or a trick, planned deep? Outside. Mary Mead's settled lights glowed, ducks slept, the pond still. Whispers lingered, she's acting. Tom's mad, Clara's sly. Miss Marple heard from her window, ears sharp. People hid guilt in a shake, fear in a rush. She'd seen a woman, nervous at tea, lie about a theft. The candlestick stashed by the shadow Billy saw. Lily's a key threads to pull. She sipped tea, the cup cool, her thoughts clear, buzzing, scared, buzzing. But she stayed calm, knitting steady. She'd seen hurt, flare jealousy, greed, small sparks to big deeds. 8. Tomorrow, she'd watch Tom's garden, ask Clara more, check Mrs. Ashford's tale. The killer hid, close and quiet. Miss Marple set her scarf down, hand still. The manor loomed, a puzzled dark. She pulled her shawl tight, eyes bright. The truth lay near, buried in talk, and she'd find it stitch by stitch, till it came clear. Chapter 8. The hidden will, morning light spilled over St. Mary Mead, turning the village golden. Mingling swept through, mingling scents of dew, roses, and warm bread. Miss Jane Marple sat in her cozy cottage, tea steaming in her chipped cup, her knitting needles quiet. The murder of Mr. Ashford bludgeoned in his manor, a candlestick the weapon kept folks buzzing. Her sharp mind churned, a muddy footprint, an odd gardening book, a missing candlestick. Died. Night shadow and tea party hints. Whispers of fights, debt, and love fueled her. Today a new clue will might shift it all. She tied her straw hat, grabbed her basket, and stepped out. Cottages glowed. Ducks waddled by the pond. A cart creaked past. Talk of murder hummed folks, clustered eyes wide, voices low. Miss Marple walked the lane, boots soft, ears open for secrets. The missing candlestick nagged one bloody one. Gone? Was it hidden? Her tea party showed nerves. Mrs. Ashford's shaky hands, Tom's hot temper, Clara's sharp words. Who cracked? At the post office, Mrs. Penny waved, her round face eager. Miss Marple, big news, she cried, leaning over letters. Mr. Giles, the solicitor, came, says Ashford left a will. Hidden, they reckon, and odd money to a nephew. Not the wife. Miss Marple's eyes twinkled, calm. My, that's curious. What do folks say? Mrs. Penny buzzed. Mrs. Ashford's mad, thought she'd get it all. Who's this nephew? Miss Marple nodded. Greed turned heart, she'd seen a son fight a father over coins. A will changed everything. She strolled to the bakery, Mr. Brown kneading dough, flour flying. Morning, Miss Marple. Heard about. The will, he called. She smiled, gentle. Yes, strange. Any word? He wiped sweat. A nephew, Edward, they say. Showed up today. Young, sly-looking. Tom still fuming, too. Miss Marple's mind ticked. New face, Edward. A nephew. Here for riches. She'd known a man, greedy, sneak for land. Did he strike? Thanks, Mr. Brown, she said, moving on. Near the shop, Clarabelle swept, her dark eyes hard. Morning, Clara, Miss Marple said. Soft. A will? I hear surprising. Clara's? Broom stopped, her face red. He owed me 50. Now some nephew gets it. Robbery. Her voice snapped, hands tight. Miss Marple watched. Debt and Lossingar boiled. She'd seen a girl, cheated, lash out. Clara, mad enough to kill? She nodded, walked away. Thinking by the church, the vicar, Mr. Clement, raked, worried. Griselda waved. Miss Marple, Will Wilday. She said, curls bouncing. The vicar sighed. Ashford's tricks money to a nephew, not the village. Odd man. Miss Marple smiled. News indeed. Seen this, Edward? Griselda chirped. Yes. It's tall, quiet. Boots muddy came this morning. Muddy boots. Shh. Miss Marple's heart skipped the footprint. Small, muddy. She'd seen a lad's tracks once. A clue to a theft. Interesting, she said, eyes sharp. Then she saw him, Edward, a tall young man, lean, dark hair and a sly smile, standing by the manor gate. His coat was dusty, boots caked, eyes darting. He tipped his hat. Morning, ma'am. I'm Edward, Mr. Ashford's nephew here. 4. Family. His voice was smooth, too smooth. Miss Marple nodded, gentle. Sorry for your loss, dear. Just arrived. He shrugged. Yes, from town heard the news. His boots, small for a man, mud fresh, matched the library print. Should check, quiet and sure. The manor loomed. Red brick dark, windows blank. Constable Hurst strode out, red-faced, notebook out. Will's real, he told his lad. Edward gets all house cash? Mrs. Ashford's fit to burst. She stood nearby, weeping loud. It's mine. My Reginald dropped. Me. Her hands shook, eyes wild. Miss Marple watched, calm. Greed hurt she'd seen a wife rage over a lost share, throw a fit. Was Mrs. Ashford desperate? Crowds buzzed. Edward's sneaky here for gold, a man said. Mrs. Ashford's cheated, a woman hissed. Dom and Clara still mad, a boy added. Miss Marple lingered, ears open. Tom leaned on a fence, spade in hand, glaring at Edward. New boss, same rot, he muttered. Clara by her shop frowned. No pay now, this. Miss Marple's mind spun word. New, muddy. Boots, Mrs. Ashford scorned. Tom and Clara a pair angry. She sat on a bench, basket down, knitting out. Needles clicked, thoughts raced. The Will Edward's prize, a reason to kill. His boots, muddy, small, like the print. Mrs. Ashford, losing all, furious. Tom and Clara, tied by love, wronged. The candlestick, missing, hidden by the shadow. The book, the footprint clues, piled. Rage, a quick blow, or a sly plan? Whispers flew. Edward's too fast knew too much, a girl said. Mrs. Ashford's wild, K-Man muttered. Tom and Clara plot. Mrs. Penny gossiped. Miss Marple listened, keen. In a glance, greed in a step. She'd seen a son, quiet, grab at cash, caught by a lie. Edward here, boots muddy, After the will? The killer? She walked home, the sky gold, then pink. Low smoke rose. Ducks slept. Ducks slept. Tom dug eyes dark. Clara locked up. Cross. Mrs. Ashford wept by the manor. Edward nearby, sly. Miss Marple's cottage welcomed her, roses bright. She lit her fire, crackle warm, and sat, knitting her scarf. Her mind whirled suspects, motives, hints. Edward knew, boots fit the print. After riches, Mrs. Ashford cheated, teary mad. Tom and Clara love. Anger, a team, the will gold to kill for, a footprint, the book, the candlestick, the shadow threads to tie, a fast strike, fury, or a trick cold. Miss Marple sipped tea, cup warm, head clear. St. Mary Mead shook, scared loud, but she stayed steady. She'd seen greed flare a man, a farm, a fight gone bad. Night fell cool dark. Lights twinkled, the village hushed, the manor stood, puzzled deep. Miss Marple set her knitting down, hands still. Tomorrow she'd watch Edward, check his tale, eye the garden. The will turned it all, who'd kill for it? She pulled her shawl tight, eyes bright, the truth hid like a coin in dirt, and she'd dig, quiet and sure, till it fit right. Chapter 9. The nighttime search dusk settled over St. Mary Mead, the sky fading from gold to deep blue. A cool breeze rustled the leaves, carrying scents of earth and fading flowers.
Ow!
Miss Jane Marple sat in her cottage, her tea cool in a chipped cup, her knitting needles still. The village buzzed with Mr. Ashford's murder bludgeoned in his manor, a candlestick the weapon. Her sharp mind turned. A muddy footprint, an odd gardening book, a missing candlestick, a night shadow, and a hidden will to Edward, the sly nephew. Whispers of anger, debt, and greed fueled her. Tonight, she'd search, with help, for clues. She'd ask the vicar, Mr. Clement, to join her. "Meet me at dusk by the manor garden," she'd said. Gentle but firm. He'd blinked, worried, but agreed. Miss Marple tied her straw hat, slipped on a warm shawl, and grabbed a small lantern. The village quieted cottages glowed. Ducks slept by the pond, a dog barked once. Murder hung heavy, fear tight. She stepped out, boots soft, ready to dig for truth. The manor loomed, red brick dark, windows black. The vicar waited by the gate, his bald head pale in the twilight, his rake in hand. "Miss Marple." "Odd time for a walk," he said, voice low. She smiled, calm, a look vicar quietly. "The garden might tell us something." He nodded, nervous, and they slipped past the gate, the gravel crunching. The garden stretched wide, lawn neat, rose beds tidy, paths winding to woods. Tom's old work, before Ashford fired him. Miss Marple held her lantern low, light dancing on the grass. "Careful, vicar. Look for anything marks bits left behind." They crept along, shadows long, the air cool. She thought of the candlestick, one bloody, one gone. Billy's shadow creeping at night nagged her. Was it hidden here? Eyes scanned dirt piles, flower beds, a bench. The vicar poked near roses, whispering, "Ashford upset everyone, me, Tom, Clara. This is bold, Miss Marple." They reached a patch of rare Laletum's pride he'd set at tea. Miss Marple knelt, her light steady. The soil looked fresh, turned over loose. "Odd," she murmured. "Planted lately, maybe." Her hands, gentle, brushed dirt. A glint. She dug slow and pulled up a silver candlestick, twinned to the murder weapon, caked in mud. "Vicar here," she said, soft. He gasped, eyes wide. "The other one." "Hidden by the killer?" Miss Marple turned it, her mind racing. Heavy silver, buried deep hid to cover tracks. Door. She'd seen a thief once, stashing a spoon in dirt, caught by a shine. Why here, she thought. Tom's Leela, his touch. His anger, did he bury it, mad at Ashford, or someone else pointing at him? The vicar shook. Dangerous, this. Constable Hurst needs it. Miss Marple nodded. "Soon, vicar, let's look more." They crept on, her lantern low, the night dark. Bushes lined the path, thick and wild. A rustle came sharp, close. "Dove!" Vicar jumped, his rake up. "Who's there?" he hissed. Miss Marple's heart beat fast, but her eyes stayed keen. Shadow moved quick, dark then gone, melting into the woods. "Someone's watching," she whispered. "Calm. The killer." Back. She'd known a boy, sneaking at night. Hide a stolen pie, caught by a sound. They searched more, paths, beds, a shed. No prints, no drops, just the candlestick. The vicar wiped his brow. "Risky, Miss Marple. What's this mean?" She smiled, gentle. "A clue, vicar, hidden here, near Tom's lilies." "Knew this spot?" He frowned. "Tom sure worked. Mrs. Ashford. Maybe lived here." "Clara Edward?" Miss Marple nodded. Tom fired, angry. Mrs. Ashford, cheated by the will. Clara owed fierce. Edward sly. Muddy boots. Who hid it? The sky blackened, stars winking. The manor stood grim, silent. Miss Marple's light flickered. Her mind spun. The candlestick buried a match to the weapon. A shadow fleeing, scared. The footprint, small. The book, odd. The will to Edward clues stacked. Rage? A quick blow? Or a sly trick? She'd seen greed turn bottom, man hit a watch, hoping for cash, caught by a mark. They slipped back. Gravel crunching, the vicar shaky. "We tell Hurst?" "Yes?" he asked. Miss Marple nodded. "Tomorrow, vicar safe with him. I'll think first." He left, rattled, his steps fast. She walked home, the village hushed, lights dim, cottages shut, an owl hooted. Tom's field lay dark, no sign of him. Clara's shop was locked, Mrs. Ashford's car still, Edward gone. Her cottage welcomed her, roses faint in the night. She lit her fire, crackle warm, and sat, knitting her blue scarf. Needles clicked, thoughts raced. The candlestick hidden in lilies. Tom's spot, he furious, tied to Clara. Mrs. Ashford, scorned, knowing the garden. Clara mad, sneaky. Edward knew. Boots muddy, after the will. The shadow killer, spooked. She sipped tea, cup warm, head clear. Whispers echoed Mrs. Penny's, Edward's sly.
Ow.
Mr. Brown's, Tom's rage. Talk of Clara, Mrs. Ashford's. Tears. Miss Marple's ears caught it, her eyes sharp. People hid guilt in a rush, fear in a move. She'd seen a girl bury a brooch, panic get caught. The candlestick hid to frame Tom, shield the killer, the shadow back to check. Mary Mead slept, tense, scared. The manor loomed, a puzzle deep. Miss Marple set her knitting down, hands still. Tomorrow she'd give Hurst the candlestick. Watch Edward, ask Tom. I, Clara. The shadow raised the stake, someone near, nervous. She'd seen anger, flare, jealousy, greed, small sparks to big deeds. The will, the lilies, the buried clue, threads. To pull, night deepened. Cool, quiet. Lights faded, the pond still. Miss Marple pulled her shawl tight, eyes bright. The killer walked, hiding, but she'd spot them, quiet and sure. The truth lay close, like a root in soil, and she'd dig step by step till it broke free, clear and true. Chapter 10. Unraveling the threads, morning crept over St. Mary Mead. The sky a pale gold, a soft breeze stirring the air. Scents of damp grass and fresh bread wafted through the village. Miss Jane Marple sat by her window, tea warm in her chipped cup, her knitting needles still. The murder of Mr. Ashford struck down in his manor, a candlestick the weapon kept folks on edge. Her sharp mind spun, a muddy footprint, an odd gardening book, a buried candlestick, a night shadow, a will to Edward. Whispers of anger, debt, and greed buzzed. Today she'd piece it together, quiet and sure. She tied her straw hat, slipped her shawl on, and stepped out, the silver candlestick safe in her basket, wrapped in cloth. Cottages glowed, ducks splashed by the pond, a cart rolled by. Talk of murder, hummed folks clustered, eyes big, voices low. Miss Marple walked the lane, boots soft, mind racing. Clues piled high, The small print, the book, the hidden candlestick, the shadow, who fit the puzzle. At the post office, Mrs. Penny waved, her round face alive. "Miss Marple, any news?" "Killer's still out," she said, letters flying. Miss Marple smiled, gentle. "Soon, Mrs. Penny. Folks still talk?" She nodded. "Mrs. Ashford's wild, says the will's unfair. Edward's too quiet, sly that one." Miss Marple's eyes twinkled. Greed. Twisted heart, she'd seen a man fight for a share. Lie. Bold Edward, after the will? Mrs. Ashford scorned. She moved on, thinking by the bakery Mr. Brown needed flour dusting his hands. "Morning, Miss Marple. Tense times," he called. She nodded, calm. "Yes. Heard more?" He frowned. "Tom and Clara close, muttering yesterday. Tom's mad, Clara's broke." Miss Marple's mind ticked. Tom and Clara, a pair, both wrong, she'd seen lovers plot sneaky over a grudge. Did they strike? "Thanks," she said, strolling off. Near the shop, Clara Bell swept, her dark eyes hard. "Morning, Clara," Miss Marple said. "Soft, tough days." Clara's broom jerked. "No cash? Thanks to Ashford?" "Edward gets it all, thief." Her voice bit, hands tight. Miss Marple watched. "Anger, debt, a girl once lashed out, cheated, broke a jar." "Clara that fierce?" She walked on, puzzling. At the church, the vicar, Mr. Clement, raked, worried. Griselda waved. Miss Marple, still a mystery, she chirped. The vicar sighed. "Ashford riled as Meadows' loss hurts." Miss Marple smiled. "Sad, yes. All quiet here." He nodded, praying then, safe. Her eyes scanned his. Calm her cheer. True or a mask? She'd seen a man hide guilt, quiet as day. Miss Marple neared the manor, red brick grim, windows dark. Edward, the nephew, stood by, tall, sly, boots muddy. "Morning, ma'am," he said, smooth eyes flicking. She nodded, gentle. "Sorry, Edward. Here long?" He shrugged. "Just came family duty." His boots small, mud-caked fit thee. "Print?" She'd seen a lad's tracks lead to truth. Mrs. Ashford wept nearby, loud, robbed, my share. Oh. Miss Marple watched tears, or a show. She found Constable Hurst by the gate, red-faced notebook out. Miss Marple. "Clues slim," he grumped. She pulled the candlestick from her basket, cloth off, found this. "Constable buried in the garden, by lilies." He stared, eyes wide. The match. Killer hit it. She nodded, calm, careful. Now, he took it, eager. Her mind raced, buried, to hide or frame. She sat on a bench, basket down, knitting out. Needles clicked, thoughts wove. The footprints maul, muddy Edward's boots. A woman's? The book gardening, odd for Ashford. The candlestick buried in Tom's lilies. The shadow fleeing scared. The will Edward's gold. Mrs. Ashford, mad, cheated. Tom fired, angry, tied to Clara. Clara owed fierce. She pieced it, slow. Years back, a boy broke a vase, blamed another, planted a glove to fool. A trick here. Oh. The book dropped a point. At Tom Leela's spot, easy to blame. The footprints maul like Edward's boots. The Wilriches drove him. She'd seen greed kill a man struck akin for land. Edward knew sly here fast. The shadow him, checking the berry. Miss Marple's head cleared. Rage fit a quick blow, candlestick handy. But a plan sang truer hide one, frame Tom grab. The will. Edward's boots matched, his timing odd. Mrs. Ashford's tears too big, a mask. Tom and Clara, a team, mad but sloppy. She'd seen a sly girl stage a theft, fool all. The killer hid, clever. Crowds buzzed. Edward's after. "Cash!" a man said. "Mrs. Ashford's fake," a woman hissed. "Tom and Clara plot," a boy added. Miss Marple listened, keen. Guilt hidden a flick, a rush. The candlestick buried to trick. Edward cool, boots right. She'd trap him, quiet and sure. She walked home, sky pink, then gray. Cottages glowed, smoke rose, ducks slept, Tom dug, eyes dark. Clara locked up, cross. Edward lingered, sly. Mrs. Ashford wept, loud. Miss Marple's cottage welcomed her, roses faint. She lit her fire, crackled warm, and sat, knitting her scarf. Her mind spun clues, suspects fit. Edward boots will, shadow. Mrs. Ashford tears, scorned. Tom and Clara love rage. The footprint, book, candlestick threads tied. A fast strike, fury, or a cold ruse? St. Mary Mead shook, scared, loud. She'd seen hurt, flare greed, anger, sparks to deeds. She sipped tea, cup warm, head sharp. Night fell, cool, dark. Lights dimmed, the village hushed. The manor loomed, a puzzle near. Miss Marple set her knitting down, hands still.
Tomorrow.
She'd nudge Hurst. Watch Edward test the trap. The killer walked, close, sly. She pulled her shawl tight, eyes bright. The truth sat like a knot in yarn, and she'd unravel it, step by step, till it lay clear. Chapter 11. The final trap morning light washed over St. Mary Mead. The sky a bright gold, a gentle breeze stirring the air. Scents of fresh earth and baking bread floated from cottages. Miss Jane Marple sat in her cozy parlor, tea warm in her chipped cup, her knitting needle still. The village buzzed with Mr. Ashford's murder bludgeoned in his manor, a candlestick the weapon. Her sharp mind wove clues. A muddy footprint, an odd gardening book, a buried candlestick, night shadow, a will to Edward. Whispers of anger, debt, and greed pointed her way. Today, she'd set a trap, catch the killer, and end it. She tied her straw hat, wrapped her shawl, and stepped out, her basket light. Cottages shone, ducks splashed by the pond, a cart clattered past. Folks gathered, voices low, eyes wide, murder still shook them. Miss Marple walked the lane, boots soft, mind clear. Clues fit, the small print, the book, the candlestick in. Tom's lilies, the shadow. Edward's muddy boots, his will, her hunch grew. A sly plan, not rage, felt right. She'd tested, quiet and sure. At the post office, Miss Marple found Constable Hurst, red face scribbling notes. "Morning, Constable," she said, gentle. A word. He nodded, gruff. "Clues slim, Miss Marple." She smiled, calm. Spread. News say. A witness saw the killer by the manor that night. "Watch who stirs." Hurst blinked, then grinned. "Clever. I'll do it," she nodded, knowing panic might flush the guilty. She'd seen a thief run once, spooked by a rumor, caught red-handed. Hurst strode off, calling, "Listen, folks. A witness saw someone night of the murder near the manor." Whispers flew. Who? Killer's scared now. Miss Marple lingered, eyes keen, watching. Mrs. Ashford, by the manor gate, froze, her hanky-tight eyes darting. "A witness?" she gasped, loud, hands shaky. Tom, near a fence, dropped his spade, face red, staring hard. Clara, at her shop, paused, broom still, her look sharp. Edward, tall and sly, leaned by a tree, boots muddy, his smile thin. "News, eh?" he said, smooth eyes flicking. Miss Marple sat on a bench, basket down, knitting out. Needles clicked, thoughts raced. Mrs. Ashford tears, scorned by the will, jumpy now, Tamangri, tied to Clara, rattled. Clara fierce, owed, tense. Edward cool, boots fit the print. Here for riches. The witness tale stirred them hood. Break. She'd seen a girl, guilty, bolt when word spread, trapped by fear. The day rolled on, sun high. Hurst's rumor spread, folks buzzed. Saw the killer. Who's scared? Miss Marple walked, slow, ears open. "By the bakery, Mr. Brown," said Edwards, quiet to quiet. Mrs. Penny, at the post, hissed. Mrs. Ashford's wild ran home fast. Near the church, Griselda chirped. Tom's pacing, odd. The vicar nodded, calm. Miss Marple watched. Nerves showed truth. Dusk fell, sky pink, then gray. Miss Marple met Hurst by the manor, dark and grim. "Constable, wait here. Quiet," she whispered. "Someone may move. Check the house." He nodded, hiding by bushes, his lad ready. She slipped back, shadows long, heart steady. The trap was set. Guilt drove folks to act. She'd seen a man spooked, dig up a stash, caught cold a rustle soft, quick. Footsteps crunched, a figure crept to the manor door. Miss Marple, hid by a tree, peered out. Edward tall, sly, boots muddy, slipped in, a key in hand, glance wild. Mind raced. Clara's key, safe or not. He moved fast, to the library, a bag in hand. Light flickered, searching. Hurst crept close. Miss Marple waved him on, quiet. They burst in. Edward froze, bag open, papers spilling. "Stop," Hurst barked, grabbing him. Edward paled, smooth. Mask gone. I just looked for family things." He stammered, boots scuffed, mud fresh. Miss Marple stepped up, gentle. "Why the witness stirred you? Why the key? Why here?" Edward's eyes darted, sweat beaded. Hurst growled, "Talk, lad." Miss Marple's head cleared. The footprint his boots fit, book dropped to point at Tom. The candlestick buried a frame. The will his prize, to shadow him. Checking, sly plan kill, hide win. She'd seen Gridamon hit kin for gold, caught by a slip. Edward cracked, voice low. "Fine, I did it. Hit him for the will." Framed Tom, buried it in lilies. Darst, cuffed him firm. Miss Marple nodded, calm. The trap worked. Showed him. The village eased, lights glowing, ducks still. She walked home, sky dark, roses faint by her cottage. She lit her fire, crackled warm, and sat, knitting her scarf. Needles clicked, mind steady, Edward greedy, sly, boots, key, will, clues fit. Print, book, candlestick, shadow. Crowd sighed. It's him, caught. Miss Marple sipped tea. Cup warm, thoughts done. St. Mary Mead shook, but justice came. She'd seen anger, greed sparks to deeds. Edward trapped, faced truth. She set her knitting down, hands still. Night fell, cool, quiet. The killer caught. The puzzle fit. She pulled her shawl tight, eyes bright, ready for peace, step by step. Chapter 12. A village at peace. The sun rose over St. Mary Mead, painting the sky a cheery gold, a soft breeze dancing through the trees. Scents of fresh grass, warm bread, and blooming roses filled the air. Miss Jane Marple sat by her window, tea steaming in her chipped cup, her knitting needles busy with a blue scarf. The murder of Mr. Ashford bludgeoned in his manor. A candlestick, the weapon, had shaken the village, but last night's trap caught the killer. Her sharp mind rested. Clues tied. A muddy footprint, an odd gardening book, a buried candlestick, a night shadow, a will. Peace crept back. She tied her straw hat, wrapped her shawl, and stepped out, basket on arm. Cottages glowed, ducks splashed by the pond, a cart rolled by. Folks smiled now, voices light, fear fading. Miss Marple walked the lane, boots soft, heart calm. Edward, the sly nephew, was caught, confessed to killing for the will. Framing Tom, the village buzzed, but with relief, not dread. She'd unraveled it, quiet and sure. At the post office, Mrs. Penny waved, her round face bright. "Miss Marple, it's done." "Edward, the killer," she chirped, letters flying. Miss Marple smiled, gentle. "Good news, Mrs. Penny. All clear." She nodded. He admitted it hit Ashford, hid the candlestick. You're a wonder. Miss Marple's eyes twinkled. She'd seen greed turn dark. A man struck kin for cash, caught by a slip. "Just watched, dear," she said, moving on. "Bye." The bakery, Mr. Brown grinned. Flour on hands. "Morning, Miss Marple. We're safe thanks to you," he called. She nodded, calm. "A team, Mr. Brown." "What's said?" He laughed. Cuffed by Hurst. Cuffed by Hurst. Off he goes. Miss Marple's mind settled.
Edward's plank you.
Bury the candlestick in Tom's lilies. grabbed the will fell apart. She'd known a lad sneaky, undone by haste. "Glad it's over," she said, strolling off. Near the shop, Clara Bell swept, her dark eyes soft. "Morning, Miss Marple," she said, warm. Edward shocking. "I'm clear, Tom, too." Miss Marple smiled. "Good, Clara, you're well."
Oh.
Clara nodded. "No debt worries, no justice. Done." Miss Marple watched, glad. Anger cooled she'd. Seen a girl? Mad, calm when truth won? Clara and Tom, free of blame, stood easy. She walked on, content at the church. The vicar, Mr. Clement, raked, his face light. Griselda bounced over. "Miss Marple, you got him brilliant." She cheered, curls wild. The vicar grinned. "The meadow's safe, thanks to you." Miss Marple smiled, soft. "A little trap, that's all." "Village quiet?" He nodded. Peace again, words gone. She saw their ease, no secrets hid. She'd known a man calm, clear when guilt lifted. Miss Marple neared the manor. Red brick, less grim, windows catching sun. Constable Hurst stood by, red-faced, proud. "Miss Marple, nailed him," he boomed. Edward confessed at Ashford, mad for the will, buried the candlestick to fool us. Frame Tom. She nodded, gentle. "Well done, constable." "How'd it fit?" He grinned. "Your trap panicked him." Key from Clara's shop, boots matched the print, book a trick, pure greed. She sat on a bench, basket down, knitting out. Needles clicked. Mind still. Edward's plan unrolled. Stole Clara's key, crept in, struck Ashford with the candlestick fast. Quiet. Dropped the book, a gardening hint, to point at Tom. Buried the twin in lilies, framing him. Came for the will riches his. Goal. The footprint, his small boots. The shadow him, checking. She'd seen greet a son, hit a father, caught by a clue. Hurst added. He broke, said he fought Ashford, lost his temper, planned to win big. Miss Marple nodded. Clues told it print, book, candlestick, shadow. She'd pieced it slow. The print, Edward's boots. The book, a fake trail. The candlestick, hid to shift blame. The will, his fire, a sly ruse, not rage. She'd known a woman, clever, undone by a trap. The village hummed. Light now. He's caught. A man laughed. Peace back. A woman, saying, "Thanks, Miss Marple." A boy cheered. She listened, eyes keen. Mrs. Ashford, by the manor, sat quiet. Tears real now, no loss to hide. Tom dug in a field, face calm, free. Clara smiled, shop open, easy. The meadow stayed, children ran, ducks swam. St. Mary Mead breathed, fear gone. She walked home, sky blue, sun warm. Cottages shone, smoke curled, roses bloomed. Her cottage welcomed her, fire lit, crackle cozy. She sat, knitting her scarf, needles, steady. The puzzle fit. Edward greedy, key in hand, struck fast. The print his mark. The book his trick. Candlestick hid to fool. The will his prize. She sipped tea, cup warm, head clear. She'd seen it greed, anger, sparks to deeds. A man once killed for gold, trapped by a slip. Edward sly. Fell to her trap panic, a dash to the manor caught. Justice came, the village safe. No more shadows, no fear. The scarf grew, stitch by stitch, like her clues, neat and true. Night fell, cool, calm. Lights glowed, the pond still, an owl hooted. No threat, no threat. Miss Marple set her knitting down, hands still. St. Mary Mead slept at peace, whole again. She pulled her shawl tight, eyes bright. The killer Edward faced. Truth, the puzzle done. She smiled, gentle, content, ready for quiet days, tea, and her garden.